Welcome, 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 everybody. So grateful to see your beautiful faces. And we have a bunch of more people coming in, and I'm so grateful they're in here too. My name is Mike DeLuca. I am your host. This is the Integrative Wellness and Development Podcast. And tonight we have a special episode. Many episodes that I do are interviews. Tonight, I am going to be doing sort of a workshop, which I hope will be very interactive. And I'm going to turn on our little PowerPoint here so you can see what it's all about and what we're going to be talking about. So let me do that right now. And there we go. So tonight, a very interesting title that came through for me to list, and that is finding your way, your personal way to serve all life and do this beyond life and death and do it in all dimensions, inner and outer. Okay, now some of you might be looking at that and saying, what is he talking about? But you'll see as we move along, many of you are quite familiar with what we're talking about here. But it goes along with the premise that we get the most out of life when we are allowing ourselves to create opportunities to provide others with the greatest value that we can based on what we are receiving in life. And many of you I know live by the rule that one of the major purposes of being here is to learn to receive and share love, wisdom, tools to build personal and spiritual freedom. And so that's the premise that we're starting with tonight, and that is when we create more value for others, we are more valuable to life. And we can do that in many ways. We can create value in many ways. So tonight, here's a quick peek of what we're talking about and what we're going to be covering and some of the stories I'm going to be telling. But basically, we're going to start with a couple of stories that I think illustrate what is it that we're really talking about tonight. And for me, in my life, and I am so grateful for this extraordinary life that I've lived because it has provided me with many inspirations to strive to develop my innate abilities and talents and interests to be of value to life. And for me, this started out when I was 3 years old. I started having vivid dreams of angels and spiritual beings. I started watching TV shows and all of these stories about being a coworker with the divine in everyday life, not having to wait till you die and are in the afterlife, but right here, right now, as an everyday person, being of value to the spirit of life, whatever you want to call it, to the divine, to those who serve and help the divine and serve and help us. There's so many opportunities. For me, a very powerful dream experience that I had. I think I was in fourth grade at the time. And I call this a foundational dream. And we're going to be talking about this concept a little later. But a foundational dream was one that really opened my eyes to my potential and my purpose. And this dream, I was a very shy kid. I was teased all the time. I was very overweight. My foot was I had a lot of problems with my feet, and wore glasses. And my mom dressed me really funny, and so all kinds of opportunities for kids to tease me. So I became very shy. But one night I had this dream, and in my dream I was in the classroom. And I walked out to the window of the classroom, and there were 10,000 people sitting in rows outside. And when I went to the window and poked my head out, they started to applaud. And so I swung my foot over the ledge and sat in the window. And all of a sudden, I was filled with this love, and I just started talking. And I was talking and I was telling stories, and people were laughing and they were crying and they were cheering. And it was the most incredible experience for a very, very shy person that I could have imagined. But it filled my heart and changed me in that moment. And the next day, when I went back to school, I was a different being. Even the teacher noticed. I was more engaged. I talked to my fellow classmates. I complimented them. When somebody would pick on another classmate, I would stick up for them, right? And so dreams began to be an opportunity for me to learn more and more about myself, my talents, my skills. And then I had another foundational dream many years later where I was in this house, and it was kind of like one of those old haunted houses. Um, because I used to watch a lot of scary movies when I was a kid. My dad loved the horror movies, so what looked like a typical haunted house, I walked in and I was pulled there, and all of a sudden I started seeing these shafts of light appearing in the room. But I wasn't afraid. And one by one, those lights took the form of little children. And suddenly I was sitting in the room filled with these lights that looked like little children. And I asked them who they were and why they were there and why am I there? And with so much love, they said, we are children that have passed on at very young ages. And our parents are very, very sad. And we have tried to help them, but we cannot. But we know that you know people who hold meetings for parents who've lost their children. Would you take this message to them that we love them, we're okay, and that you can visit us in your dreams and we can continue to share love? And so I went back and I coordinated with my brother-in-law who was doing workshops for bereaved parents. I coordinated with the Maine Medical Center and a number of other hospitals and led to these workshops that I would do to help the parents of who've lost children. And I knew I was helping not only the parents, but I was helping the children. And I have many, many stories to tell, and I don't want to bore you or take a lot of time tonight. Um, Another watershed experience for me is when I had the opportunity to serve at a way station. And this was a place when people left the physical, they would come to this way station and they would need time to recuperate, to actually understand what was happening to them. And I served there. I served there at the pleasure and the grace of some very wonderful spiritual beings. And it was a gift to me. So I'm not telling you these stories to brag to you or say I'm something special. These were opportunities given to me that were gifts. And they knew that I would not only use them, but I would share them later on to inspire other people to do the same. And this one particular incident I wanted to share with you, there was a young woman in her late 20s. She had served in the Middle East. She was in a Humvee that hit an IED explosive device on the ground. And it killed everyone, including her, and it cost her her legs. Her legs were blown off. She hung on for a while. I was taken to the hospital, but eventually she died of her wounds and never really recovered enough to understand she had transitioned. So there I was with her and another being, and we were talking, and she didn't understand that she had passed. So I was talking with her, and I noticed that on her arm she had these tattoos. And so I immediately thought of a friend who was also in the military and that also had tattoos and was also female. And I thought of this person, and immediately they appeared. And we were able to talk with this soldier, and she began to calm down. She began to adjust, and because there was somebody there she could relate to. She couldn't relate to me. You know, I was older. I had a very different form that she was used to seeing. But my friend, she was military. She dressed like her, and she had a tattoo like her. And so she began to talk with this person, and little by little, this person began to relax to the point then she was looking around and realizing that this was not a typical, forward operation base hospital. This was someplace different. And so she finally said, "What is this place? This is not a hospital I'm used to." I said, "This is a place that people go to adjust." To adjust because the truth of the matter is, my friend, you are no longer occupying a physical body on earth. You were in a tragic accident. Your Humvee hit an IED. There was a massive explosion. She said, "I know." She said, where are my friends? Where's the rest of my unit? I said, "Unfortunately, none of them made it." She said, "Oh, but the pain, I still feel the pain in my legs." And she looked down and she said, "But they're gone. But why do I still feel the pain?" And, not only do I feel the pain in my legs, but I have this pain in my heart. I feel so bad that I'm the only one alive, which is very, very common, something called survivor's guilt. If someone in a unit survives and the rest of the unit doesn't. So, we were talking, and little by little, I could feel the love energies, this divine energy flowing. And it was coming through me, it was coming through my friend, and finally it filled the room. And all of a sudden, she realized we both at that moment came to the understanding that she realized, wait a minute. I'm not alive anymore, am I? I'm not on earth anymore. And I said, "No, you have passed from the physical, but you're here in this special place to adjust." And suddenly she looked down and her legs reappeared, but then her whole body began to glow. And she took on this much more beautiful, glowing body and a shimmering white sort of gown. And she was just in amazement. Wow. I said, "Well, this is the form now that you will use." Um, and I explained to her, but she got it. She understood. She was sharp. And I was so grateful to have witnessed this, to be a part of it. So grateful that I was able to bring this friend in to be a part of this. And again, I'm telling you this story, it's not about me, it's about the opportunities we are given to touch the lives of others and serve in these realms that are not only here in the physical, but those realms in other dimensions, because we are multi-dimensional beings, right? Because we are truly spiritual beings using a physical body for experience, but we exist in many, many dimensions and many, many places and many, many galaxies and planets. And I know for some of you this might sound strange. Trust me, in time you will hear so much of this and you will see so much of it, it will become commonplace to you in the years to come. Um, so for me, life has given me many opportunities to do workshops like this, to create songs and music to inspire and to help people heal. And so, enough about me. Let's talk about you. What do you think about me? No. Let's talk about you. Let's take a moment to recognize your own experiences that you've had like this. Just stop for a moment and think about all the opportunities you've had in life to be there in service to life, to use a talent that you have, or a creative ability that you have, or a passion that you have. Just take a moment and take inventory of that. And I'll give you a little time. And if you have something to write on, I would encourage you, write this down. Write some of these opportunities you've had, some of these stories. And I hope later on tonight you'll be able to share with us some of those stories. Folks that have physically joined us on Zoom. We have a number of people who've also joining us right now on Facebook, and they can always send me in the Facebook chat if they would like, and I can share their stories. But let's take a moment, recognize those experiences, and if you haven't had one yet, that's okay. Or if you can't think of one, that's okay. What works just as well is just imagine for a moment that you could do anything you want. You could be anything that you want and have that be of value, of service, um, help to another person, help to another being, help to another cause, just by being yourself and doing the things you do that you love. Just think for a moment and imagine yourself doing that. And I'll give you a minute or two to think about that. Okay, while you're doing that, I wanted to review the goals of this workshop because it's probably different from a lot of workshops that you've had. And I normally break this down into a bunch of different slides, but I'm going to leave it up on one slide so you have a chance to take notes. Also, it'll appear in Facebook on the recording that follows later on tonight so that people can see the whole thing and take their notes. So the first goal, to explore the limitless opportunities we have to combine our experiences, our skills, our passions, our goals, and our state of consciousness to create powerful and impactful ways of creating valuable service that we can provide, and service that we can provide beyond this plane, this world, this life, death, time, space, beyond all other limitations, because we are limitless beings. So that's the first goal. The second goal, let's experience a fun and empowering assessment process. I'm going to share this with you to highlight and help you inventory your inner resources and your preferences of service, to give you clues about the choices of service that are most congruent for you. And again, many of you are very experienced in this area of outer and inner service. So this will be a review for you, but it also might be fun to come up with some new and different opportunities that you haven't thought about. Okay. Thirdly, we're going to take the clues from this assessment and we're going to piece them together like a puzzle to help illustrate clear opportunities for additional inner and outer service that you can provide. Okay. Next, we're going to do a guided visualization and practice with an inner teacher, inner guide, inner being. We're going to practice serving in the position of your choice with their guidance, their tutelage, their suggestions. It's always so important and wonderful to have a teacher, a guide, a mentor. And I've been blessed with one for many decades. and many of them for many lives. And I would not be here and not be the person I am if not for their grace and their guidance and their care. And whether you have guides or whether there are religious beings, historic religious beings you follow, all of it is beautiful and wonderful and useful. And then finally, we want to share our experiences, questions, answers, and then finally make commitments for future follow through in this journey. So, how does that sound? Sound like we're spending the next hour and 45 minutes together? Yes or yes? I'll take that as a yes. Okay. All right. Get your piece of paper and pen or pencils ready. We're going to start the self-assessment. Now, there are a number of you here that attended my Your 9 Steps for Goal Achievement Mastery program, and you're going to recognize some of these steps from step one, the self-assessments we did way, way back in step one to help you develop your ability to spot your inspirational DNA is what I called it. So, first question I'm going to ask you to contemplate on is what inspiring foundational dream do you remember from childhood or early on in your spiritual journey? And again, a foundational dream is just like what I shared with you about I call it the window. When I was taken to the window in my third grade class and had that experience of speaking and sharing and so that was a foundational dream. Can you remember a foundational dream of yours, or maybe several? Take a moment to write them down. And again, welcome the folks who are joining us on Facebook. So grateful you're here and joining us. And I hope you're following right along. Okay, take another few moments about your foundational dream. And again, this is going to stay on my Facebook page, so you can review this video and you can continue to work on, journaling in your own journal, some foundational dreams that you're remembering. And you might, go into contemplation or meditation today, tonight, tomorrow, this week, and some more may pop up. So. We're going to move to question 2, and I love this. Who was your favorite superhero, movie hero, book character, comic book character, or sports or spiritual figure that inspired you to want to do or be something greater? Okay. Who was your favorite superhero or comic book hero or character? For me, I loved Superman and Batman, and I loved Doctor Strange, especially comic book character. What I loved so much about Batman was he was a human. He was a mortal person, did not have superpowers, but he worked so hard in developing the strength and the abilities and the tools to be able to serve the communities and be able to help people and be able to bring light into darkness. One of the things I loved about Dr. Strange was his ability to work consciously on many dimensions and harness the energies, the spiritual energies of life to not only help himself, but help others. And all of us can do that. And it inspired me to investigate from when I was a little kid, how do we do that? And who knows how to do that, right? So, who are some of your characters? Could be Wonder Woman, could be Superman, right? Two TV shows that really helped me that were foundational were Highway to Heaven with Michael Landon. That was very important to me, and Touched by an Angel. Um, every episode I watched, it inspired me more and more to develop my divine qualities, to recognize that any creation of the divine is worthy of serving it and others. And that we could do this while still in the physical, but that also we could work side by side with mentors, other beings whose entire lives were committed to serving. And that's so cool. You could be a nurse, you could be a doctor, you could be an artist, you could be a musician, you could be a counselor, a coach, a teacher. You could be a next door neighbor. You could be the next door neighbor in a nursing home and still be providing incredible service that you are bringing from your inner self into the outer, and also at night in your dreams or in your meditations and prayer, right? Because we are multidimensional beings. Okay, let's move on. Question 3. What was something, or what is something, that you are absolutely passionate about doing? Something that it feeds your very soul. Every time you do it, every time you think about doing it, it just feeds your soul and you're excited about it and you pour all your love and creativity. And for me, an example is this podcast. I absolutely love the research. I love the work leading up to each Sunday night. And I love most of all being with you. And I love serving you. I love making a difference, even though it's a small one, making a difference in your life and bringing you things that can make your life a little bit better. That really floats my boat and it really feeds my soul. So what is it for you? Give you a little bit more time with this. There's many of you on tonight who just you're incredibly talented. You've had years and years of experience in your field. You've touched many, many people. I'm grateful that you're sharing this time with me tonight and with the rest of the audience. Um, and hope that what we are presenting tonight will be of value to you. I'm sure it will be. Okay, let's move on to the next question. The things that we do to be of service to life are often things that reflect our greatest strengths and abilities. That's the first question. The second question will be the opposite of that. So take a moment and inventory. What are some of the greatest strengths and abilities that you have that you've been using to make a contribution to life and to the lives of others? And list them. List them, be proud of them, be grateful for them, and be ready to take a higher look at the possibilities of how you can work with them. The next question, kind of the reverse, question four. And what do you consider to be areas that have the greatest opportunity to be strengthened? Notice the wording on that question, right? I don't believe in using the terminology weaknesses. I don't believe in that. I believe that everything is an opportunity to be used to learn, develop, and serve. And there are opportunities we've realized and continue to realize, and there are opportunities that we need to spend a little bit more time and focus on, if we choose to strengthen them. And I've found for myself, these are important things to consider when I choose or am chosen to serve in a particular way, both here in the physical world and in my dreams and in other places, wherever it's determined to be a win-win for me and whoever else is involved. Always for me, it's a gift of grace. I've been, Mac's been working with a list of several here in this area. You know, for me, it's patience, it's humility, it's respect, it's grace, it's learning to be a better listener, it's learning to see and respect the inherent strengths and talents that everyone has. And it's learning to not judge, but to appreciate fully the magnitude and the wonder of each and every being that I have the privilege of coming into contact with in my life. So lots of things on my list. And then number six, this is one that comes up for me a lot, quite often, and that is life tends to choose things for me to develop my abilities to be of greater service. And they're usually the things that I'm most uncomfortable, afraid of doing or facing. And I'm not saying all of those things. I'm just saying from time to time appropriate things that I am put in the position of having to face. Um, and for me, it's in this lifetime, it's taking a job, going to different countries around the world, having to learn different languages, having to stay and work in very dangerous situations, um, having to interact with very dangerous people, both in this dimension and in others. Um, really having to face those fears, uh, being willing to speak my truth, having to face those fears were very difficult for me. Leaving a job when I didn't have another one waiting for me and I had a family to support, but I could no longer support the a lack of ethics or the directions that those companies were taking, um, or the individuals that I was working for were doing. Um, it's a challenging thing to speak your truth and to stand by it, but it's important. And life will give you opportunities to do what's right and do what's right for you. But sometimes that's a scary thing to do. So, okay, you've had a chance to write these things down. You've had a chance to think about them, assess a little bit. Let's move on now to the next section. This is a section that I love. I was very, very grateful over the years to have the opportunity to work with some very, very big companies in their field of business and interact with members of their boards of directors, members of, their senior management staff, senior department heads. And I found that the most successful companies, the most successful organizations, and the most successful people had a strong board of advisors or mentors so that they could benefit from all of the experience and knowledge that these advisors and mentors had. Because the wisest people that I've met, who were also some of the most successful people, were people that understood they did not need to know everything or expect to know everything right away and expect to be competent and successful right away in undertaking new ventures. But what they did need to do, they needed to surround themselves with those who had the experience, who had walked the walk, who had climbed the mountains. And so, again, those of you who were students in the Your Nine Steps program for Goal Achievement Mastery, you'll remember that, I believe it was part of in step two, we put together our own board of advisors, our own board of mentors. And this is something I highly recommend to everyone here. And we have a mixture of people here from all levels of experience, all walks of life, all philosophical and spiritual and religious backgrounds. So want to invite you to take a moment and just imagine that you had your own special boardroom or your own special studio, right? Or your own special temple. And you have this round table, just like King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table had. And you seat at this table beings, and they could be beings who are physically here in this time and space of life. They could be beings from the historical past that were particularly motivating and inspiring to you. They could be inner beings, if you've been blessed with having inner teachers and guides over the years, certainly want to include them. If they are religious, spiritual leaders, um, historical or current that inspire you, bring them in. They could be family members that or co-workers that were inspiring are inspiring to you, but have them seated at this table and understand that each of them is committed to helping you find the very, very best you have to offer and to help you with the next exercises that we're going to do. So I'm going to give you a moment to create that board of advisors. I'd like to take a moment and really center yourself in this boardroom. You can practice a spiritual practice that helps you get grounded. You might have a sacred word you'd like to sing, a mantra, or an image that really helps you expand inwardly and make deeper contact with your advisors. Take a moment and do it with them to sort of create a focused, unified consciousness. And we will prepare to take on the next section of this workshop. Okay. So with your board of advisors, teachers, mentors, guides, you have your piece of paper and pen handy. The first question you're going to ask their help with is how can you take the previous answers to those questions we had, use them as puzzle pieces to piece them together and come up with how all of those things either validate what you already know to be your life's mission or an opportunity to serve life at a higher level. If they not only validate what you already know, or how could you work together with them to create a new opportunity to express your life's mission in new ways, right? Kinds of answers to this. If you are a medical professional, I know during COVID, I had a number of medical professionals, and we would, in our personal and private meditations or dreams, work to be with those COVID patients who were isolated, who were preparing to leave this physical life and could not be comforted by family or even some other medical professionals. And we were guided to be there with them and hold their hand and be the presence of love and of peace and tranquility, and to assist those beings who were there to help them transition peacefully. That's an opportunity you could do as a medical professional or just someone who loves to serve and would love to be useful. There are millions of people right now suffering silently and alone. I remember when my younger son was, gosh, maybe 3 or 4 years old, and there was war in the Middle East. And I asked him every night we would read some spiritual writings, and we would do a little meditation and contemplation, spiritual exercise, and I asked him one night, so what would you like to do? Where would you like to go? Do you want to go to a place that's in this storybook, or do you want to go into these places in these inner worlds and dimensions? He said, no, I want to go to the children who are where the bombs are falling. I want to bring them food and blankets, and I want to help them not be afraid. Talk about out of the mouths of babes and be ye like little children. I was astonished, and I was so very grateful and proud. Um, this is what he wanted to do. It wasn't to have an entertaining, fun trip on a winged horse, to a Disney inner Disney world. It was he wanted to bring love, comfort, peace to children who were suffering. These are opportunities we have. If you're a musician, a performer, could you consciously work with Pythagoras or those beings who generate the frequencies and vibrations that uplift and transform, that create new worlds, heal old worlds? You consciously devote yourself to using your art or music to be a portal of spiritual healing, spiritual discovery, spiritual growth, personal growth. That brings us to question two. You can speak to your advisors. How could you best receive and share more love, more wisdom, and more freedom through carrying out these missions or carrying out these practices or using these creative opportunities? How could you both receive and share more love, more wisdom, and more freedom? Take a moment and discuss this with your advisors, your mentors. And now the final question. Would you be willing to do? What would you be willing to not do? What would you be willing to give up? Who would you be willing to become in order to achieve the opportunity to serve in this capacity? And this is a question we can ask ourselves each day. Each day is an opportunity to do more, to give more, to give up more and to become more of what we really already are. But remove the obstacles for that version of us to shine through and to do what it was meant to do and be what it was meant to be. Take a moment, discuss this with your advisors and write them down. Okay, how you all doing over there? It's been a lot of questions, a lot of contemplating, a lot of thinking here, but show of thumbs, has this been useful to you so far? Good. Right, well, here's the fun part, and that's where we get to share with each other some of what we have experienced, some of the answers to questions, experiences you've had that you felt were valuable. Maybe you've come up with some ways of serving inwardly and outwardly that are new, or maybe you've reaffirmed some that you've already been doing, and this was a great, opportunity to reaffirm them. This is our time to share. I would ask that you use your little golden hand, and you can find that on the bottom of Zoom under the React little heart there. It says React. If you click on that, there's a golden hand. If you raise your golden hand, I'll be able to acknowledge you, and then you can unmute and we can hear from you. So I'd like this to be a nice, relaxed discussion. I'm excited to hear what you have to share. And so we're going to jump right into this. My favorite chocolate, Carol.
Hi. Well, when
Hi.
you talked to us about doing the round table, our circle of whatever, I went on the inner and all of a sudden, all these different colored globes of light just came in and it
Yes.
huge circle, but not
Yes.
just on one level. It did it on all the different levels. So that was pretty cool. I just had to share that. Don't know if anybody else had that experience or not, but uh, thank you.
Oh, thank you. That is very, very cool. Yeah, and I love to hear that. I try to give inputs or starting points in these exercises, but it's going to take you where it's going to take you, and you'll see it the way you see it, and that's what's so important. And it never gets old, the way these things happen. And again, I feel so blessed. I feel so grateful to know that we can do this. We can ask for guidance. We can ask for help. We can ask to learn to, bounce things off of these wise older brothers and sisters who've, walked the walk and have been where we want to go. Um, and no matter who you are, what you believe, what your philosophy is, whatever it isn't, it doesn't matter. I think everyone has experienced asking someone for help. And that's the only way we grow, and the only way we'll get help is to ask for it. And I know the world needs a lot of help right now. And if we are asking the right people for the right kind of help, that help can come through us and find its way to others who need it. And that was the whole purpose of this workshop. Carol, did you have something else you wanted to say?
I did. Someone in the family isn't feeling well, and I just finally said, I need help. And this morning, two different people called. We woke up and they came over and brought things. And somebody else said, well, we're ordering from this Chinese place. And I said, oh, I'd love some hot and sour soup for this person because it clears up. And they just popped in. I mean, I didn't have to call anybody. They just volunteered, and it was amazing. This asking for assistance, it's always given if we accept it. And I definitely accepted this. I wanted to share that too because it was so profound. I asked it last night and this morning, two different sources just popped right in. I'm very, very grateful. Thank you.
Well, and thank you for sharing that because it also brings up the realization that we are all connected. We'll talk a little bit about this, in a few minutes, but one of the things that is so amazing is that we are all connected, right? Every living thing is connected in these strands that tie us with, the force of life, the spirit of life, the divine being, the divine creator, whatever you want to call it. We are all connected to it and through it. And when we go through something, we are going through it not only for ourselves, we're going through it for all of life. And when we ask for help, all of life is help. When we get help, all of life is help. When we grow from it, all of life grows from it, right? So it's so important to recognize that. And when we ask to serve at a higher capacity, not just the specific person, place, or thing in that moment, in that place and time and space is served, but all of life on all dimensions is served by what comes through us and our desire to serve. It's just because we're all connected, this miracle, of service happens. And it really is the major purpose for existence, right? It really is the way we mirror our creator, right? Whatever you see, whatever you feel or know as this creative force, it's there to create, it's there to sustain, it's there to evolve, inspire, protect, and unfold us. And when one being unfolds, when one being serves, everyone unfolds and everyone serves. Which is another reason I wanted to do this workshop, to just bring that out. There's no limit to how we can be of service. There's no one particular way, no one particular um, method, and it will change. And that's what's so beautiful is we're limitless. Every day we can choose a different way to be of value. And why be of value? Well, I look at the divine as this great big divine Warren Buffett, this incredible investor, right? Because people ask me, why is it that some people seem to, you know, um, be more recognized or do bigger things or are in the limelight or are seem to be the favored son or daughter for one way, shape, or form. Are they more important? Are they special? And my feeling is we are all created the same. We unfold at different levels and times. But also, if the divine invests $5 in us and gets back $2 of effort and of service, there's no judgment here. I'm just talking math now, okay? Put in $5, you get back two. Well, it got back something and it knows that I need to work with this individual a little bit and develop their ability to provide a greater level of service so that when I invest $5, I'll get back $10. Now, the beings that when the divine invests $5 in and gets back $100, right, or $1,000, it's not because it loves that individual anymore. It will invest more where it is getting a greater return on investment so that more can be served and its will can be realized. It's still going to work with the people who you invest $5 and you get two. It's going to work with the people you invest $5 and you get nothing, right? It's still going to work with that, but the level of consciousness will evolve to the point where those beings will awaken and realize, I want to serve at my highest capacity. When it invests $5, I want to give it back 10,000. And I will do whatever it takes. I will study, I will work, I will grow, I will do whatever it takes because I want to bring the greatest return on investment for the divine and for all life. And that's the other, one of the reasons I wanted to do this workshop tonight is bring that point out. It's not that you're any more important or any more loved by the Creator. It's just what is the return on investment you're giving, and what would you like to give? Because we can all change in a minute the level of return on investment we're giving and use our love and our creativity. Luba, you've been so patient.
Uh, no, no worries. You had some really wonderful things to share. It's wonderful. I loved your question about what's your favorite superhero.
Yay!
That, like, immediately, it was great. And I realized after I wrote down a couple, which I'll share, that these are actually qualities that I have.
Yes,
That's why we like the superheroes we like. So
yes,
Superman was my favorite. And spin-off Supergirl. Batman, not so much. He's too human. But that's what bugged me. But with Superman, I realized just now that it was the aspect of the undercover hero. You know, he didn't want to let his identity be known. Clark Kent, after all. So I'm looking at how, when you're helping somebody without asking for anything in return, you're working undercover.
yes,
And there's a superpower there. And if
yes,
I have a superpower, so do others. And I
yes,
have received incredibly from other people in the past. It's just amazing. So there's that Superman superhero, disguise. The other one was something I ran across as an adult, Doctor Who from
yes,
England. And the
yes,
thing, I had a couple of favorites and the rest, like, don't care about that doctor, whatever. But the thing that always got me was that no matter what problem came up, there was never a, oh no, no, his sidekick would be the one who'd panic. He would be the one who was problem solving. Like, oh, well, I know I can use a blah, blah, blah. I have something for this. He's always looking at it from a can-do aspect from a higher perspective. So it's not that lower vibration of fear or freeze. It's about, okay, what do I do about this? Oh, this reminds me of such and such, so I can fix it. So that also reminds me of conversations I've had with people where uh, recently I had a chance to either give a negative review about a person to mirror what they were saying, or to share what I thought was really going on, which was actually kind of socially inept and didn't have the skills. So this person comes across as being scary, but it's actually more like a puppy dog. And that person found later told me that that was so helpful. It just made that fear dissolve for her. So by going from a higher perspective, Doctor Who, I was able to serve this person in her situation. She was actually very, very scared. So there's just an example of giving and not knowing that this was going to help her. It was just finding a higher perspective. So thanks for asking us to look at that. It's like looking back and go like, whoa, that was really valuable. So thank you.
thank you, and thank you for your sharing and your comments. Just beautiful, just beautiful. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate you too.
Thanks. Likewise, Mike, for you too.
Thank you. Nancy,
Hi. So
hey.
funny. I was wondering, well, could I be of service by sharing? And somehow my hand touched the raise hand thing, without me realizing it. So I love what everyone's saying. I had this realization about giving back to life, being retired quite a few years now. It can be in the smallest of things.
Yes.
And in the smallest of things, in every moment, then every moment that love comes back. So it doesn't have to be, it can be big things, but it can be the smallest of things. And the more I focused on the smallest of things and let go of fear, worry, lack of worth, and go to the highest that I can possibly imagine. What happened last week, I was in the emergency room for myself with a potentially serious thing. As you can see, I'm fine. But there was a man there who had been brought in by the ambulance and he was all disheveled. And they're like, no, you can't go back yet. We're going to put you in the waiting room. And there were no chairs in the waiting room. He was in a wheelchair. Nobody wanted him. Like, they're like, don't push him near me. And of course, he comes near me. And I had an opportunity. Could I like look away and pretend he didn't exist? Or could I see him as soul? And it may sound like a small thing, but to me, being in pain, being fearful, I really had to dig deep and go beyond that. Say, what motivates me more? My own fear or giving to others? And he was
Yes.
trying to get his foot on the pedal of his wheelchair to be more comfortable, and he couldn't do it. I thought, I'm just taking a chance. So I looked and said, would you like some help? He was so grateful. I feel like the love that I got back was a million times over. So my passion for giving, I'm learning that's one of the goals to keep going on, to allow that to grow so that it's in every moment of my life, in this world, the dream world, any world I happen to be in, that can never be taken away from me. And it can be small things, but the love can be giant size.
Wow, that's incredible, Nancy. Yeah, and you've illustrated beautifully what Mother Teresa said, and that is it's not necessary to do great big things, in the world and be touching millions of people and be recognized by the world. It's important to do small things with a great amount of love. And that's really, what you're talking about and what you exemplify in your life. You do so many things with love and care and tenderness, and you've touched so many people. I'm grateful that you're in my world, in my life. And you're a very courageous person too, because stuff gets thrown at you, and you're like a weeble. You wobble, but you don't fall down. You come jumping right back up, and you get back in the fight. You're an inspiration. So thank you, and thanks for what you shared. Thanks for being there, and yeah, it's so important that we understand it could just be a simple thing. It could be just asking a question. It could be just listening. I love those opportunities. The simple, humble opportunities can be used by the divine in wonderful, great big ways that we don't see, we're not supposed to see, we're not supposed to know, right? Um, Waiting for another hand, I'll share a story. It doesn't really even matter who we are, what state of mind or health or being that we are. The divine can and will use us. I would not be sitting here today talking to you about this stuff had when I was in high school, um, I was really struggling with giving up the religion of my family, giving up what I felt had been very, very imprisoning to me, and making a big change, a bold change, leaving behind everything that was, you know, um, foundational and familial and true, and and to me. And I'd been struggling for a long time with that. And in high school, we went around Christmas time, we would bring cookies and candy, and we would sing at these nursing homes. Our high school picked a couple of nursing homes. So my mom was a very prodigious baker. So I was the last one in the nursing home. A group of us were walking in, and I had this big giant, bunch of cookies I was bringing. And as I walked in the door, and I was kind of looking around because they were gone now, and I'm wondering, well, where I noticed this man, and he was obviously a resident. He was in, a robe and pajamas, and he was kind of rocking and mumbling to himself, and his head was down. And when I walked into the nursing home, all of a sudden, he stood straight up, the glazed, hooded eyes opened up with a gaze that was so powerful and so focused. And he walked up to me, he looked me in the eye, and he said, "Do you know, if you put your life in the hands of God and you trust, it will show you everything you need to know. It will take you everywhere you need to go, and it will help you to become everything you need to be." And I'm like, right? I'm paralyzed. I can't talk. I can't respond. And he's going on to talk about his life and how he had done this. And his life was one big adventure. And it took him here, and it led him to this vocation, and it led to this person in his life, and this relationship, and these children, and this and that, and this and that, and this and that. And his life was a living example of what he was telling me to do. And I didn't know, but he was telling me what my life would be like if I faced the fear and walked through it, if I let go of the past and embraced the future. And when he was done, he looked at me, and then his eyes clouded over, his head bowed down, and he rocked and he mumbled. And then two orderlies came over. One took him by one hand, the other took him by the other, and they led him away. They looked at me and they said, "Was he bothering you?" And I was like, no. They said, "Well, don't listen to him. He's crazy." And they took him away. And everything he talked about is what my life was over the last 50 years. Every single thing he talked about, right? So it doesn't matter who we are. It doesn't matter what state of health, what state of wealth. It doesn't matter. If your heart is open in a moment, the divine can use us, right? It can use us. And it knows what needs to be said. It knows what needs to be done. It knows who we need to be in that moment. And it doesn't matter what we're afraid of. It doesn't matter what we've been trained to do. It doesn't matter. It knows what it needs. It knows who needs what it needs. And we have this incredible opportunity to be whatever it is it needs us to be, and to do whatever it is we feel moved to do. To bring that return on investment of love and wisdom and freedom. Right? It knows. And there's no limit. There's no place we cannot bring value to. Virginia. Hi,
Hi,
Virginia.
hi everybody. So right from the get-go, I was kind of asking, like, and wonder. That's how I usually state my questions. I wonder why I would do this. Why do I need more wisdom, freedom, love in my life? And why do I need to give it out? What's the payoff? I sort of know, but I wanted to go deeper with that.
So what did you get?
Well, the first thing that came to me is to pay off karma. But well, for me, I just want to be better, better, better. I want to be more, more, more. I just want to grow those notches up where it intrigues me to do something on the inner worlds. I've never had little takes on that, but nothing like you had, and I would like to be of service that way. And remember it and be conscious.
Could you imagine yourself doing that?
I did in the little exercise, and I did imagine myself being the way shower. How that intrigues me so much, and I want to set an intention. This is what I got, to set that intention, perhaps before I go to bed, do my spiritual exercise, or do whatever, and
Beautiful.
then go that way. Thank you.
Wow. You've given us all a great recipe, a great recipe to follow. And again, another part, the reason I so wanted to do this workshop was just to validate, and empower us to say we can do this, and all it takes is the desire, the trust that it can be done, because it is done. Oh, it's done every second on every dimension, right? And it takes the willingness to say it can start right now. It doesn't matter if you've never done it in the past. Doesn't matter. It can start right now. Our future begins right now. Our future of growing and learning and serving begins right now. And I want to say one thing, Virginia, to all of you. The very fact that you're here right now, whether you're here on Zoom, whether you're here right now in Facebook, whether you're someone who's going to come along tomorrow or next week or whatever and watch this, the fact that you're here, you are being of immeasurable service. Because you've opened your consciousness, you've opened your heart, and you've set the intention of being of value, right? Just of being of value. Because we live in a world where there's so much attention on being a consumer versus attention being on a contributor, right? So it's really important. It's really important to have the intention of creating value, of being of service, of wanting, we are of service in just wanting to be a clearer version of ourselves, a more conscious version of ourselves, a more loving version of ourselves. That's being of service, right? Because it will bring more love, more wisdom, and more freedom to others, but it will also bring it to ourselves, which allows us to bring it to others, right? The gifts we give ourselves are multiplied and given to others just as importantly, right? There's someone here that wanted to share from our Facebook family here. So she said, I told my dog that she can serve in her dreams. This is very true. Shortly after, I saw her in a dream and she was licking the hands of a friend of mine, and this friend had been in post-surgery pain. I talked with my friend after the dog's healing dream, and my friend told me that they were actually feeling better. So again, it doesn't matter what form life is in, right? All life understands the value of serving. Wanted to grab something here that came up this week. I was actually looking for something that Pope Francis had said. I apologize. It's taking me a little longer than I had planned to find it. But if I don't find it, I guess I don't have it here. But basically, what he was saying was to follow the example of nature, that the sun does not shine just for itself. You know, the fragrance of flowers are not for themselves, right? The beauty of a sunset is not for itself, right? It's when we share the things that are beautiful to us, when we share the things that are gifts to us from life, all life benefits. And we are truly in harmony with our divine nature and with the divine nature of all things. And that comes back to being connected, right? We're here, and it's important to know we're here to understand we are all connected with every single aspect of life. Anyone else have something they want to share before we move on? And it's okay if you don't want to share it tonight. You can send me a Facebook message. You could send me an email. If you want to share later on, do that. But I've appreciated it so much, everybody who has very generously shared their time and their insights and experiences. And I hope that not only you had fun with this exercise, but you'll continue it at home. But let's move on to the next exercise. If we don't have any more information that you'd like to share or experience you'd like to share, we'll move on. Okay, I'm going to go back to our PowerPoint. Okay, so what you'll want to do is you'll want to choose one of your advisors. You can do this tonight, you can do it this week, you can do it whenever. But the next step with all of this is to choose one of your advisors to show you how to develop your skills in serving inwardly and outwardly in the role of service that you have chosen for yourself tonight. So think about that for a moment. Think about what is the skill you are choosing to develop or continue to hone that you're already using. And who is the advisor or advisors you'd like to invite to join you tonight and this week and this month and this lifetime. You know, start exploring that and see where that goes. Carol, you raised your hand.
I did. On this particular type exercise, I've also taken part of this and asked which master or which teacher would like to assist me in this next whatever. And I would either be specific and they would always show up. Maybe two or three would show up. I didn't have to say who I wanted it to be. I just allowed whoever wanted to work with me and share. And I just wanted to put that out too. It's a nice way of doing it.
Yeah, that's really important. Thank you so much for reminding me that we can often just ask, who is ready, willing, able, and available. And usually it's the person, it's the being that has the qualities that will be most fitting for this journey we take, or this area that we would like to explore and strengthen. So, and to me, Carol, that also exemplifies the beautiful trust that you have in the beings that you work with and have worked with, to know that they know, and the right ones will be there. In reality, they're all there. We're all there. We're all together at all times, in all places, in all spaces, in all dimensions. Um, it's this physical state of consciousness that has the illusion of separateness, right? That we're alone in our little world of dramas and soap operas and adventures and, realizations. We're not alone. Never are we alone. So thanks for reminding me that, Carol. So also invite you to practice during the day in your meditations or contemplations or spiritual exercises, in your dreams, and take the time to record what it is that you're learning as you are serving, and what it is you're learning to expand your abilities so that you can expand your value and the value of service you bring to life, because we can expand and increase at every single moment of every single day. And we don't need to measure it. We just need to want to do it. Just have the desire, have the surrender. That's all it takes. We have everything else we need inside of us. We have all the help we could possibly need around us, right? It just takes the desire to do and to be, and each day to do and to be, right? So, some points I wanted to make. If you don't have right now a practice that fulfills these qualities, take what you've created today and visualize how you could be serving in this capacity tomorrow in your dream, tonight in your dreams, or even when you are no longer inhabiting this physical existence. And I say that because another motivation for me to do this workshop and to really put my attention in all of this is I want to be able to be of value in every moment while I'm still physically here, and then when I'm no longer inhabiting this physical body. I don't want my usefulness to the Creator and to all of life to end. And I feel the more attention I place on consciously serving in contemplation, in my dreams, and in other dimensions, that this will actually help me be more conscious during that time when it's time for me to transition and translate over from this physical incarnation, this physical life. That's just my thoughts, but I invite you to explore that. And if you do have a practice, if you do have a way that you've been serving and it works for you, it fulfills these qualities, it's okay to use these questions as verification on how can I increase the quality and value of what I'm already doing? Or can they help me find additional ways that I didn't think of? If I use this checklist of questions, right? Use it. See how you can adapt what you're doing into practice, both here in your dreams and in beyond. Okay, well, are there any other questions? Are there any other comments you all would like to share? Carol?
Yes. Recently, I have been dreaming about a lot of people who are no longer here. And I was talking to someone recently, and they're not really on a spiritual path. So I said, I've been dreaming a lot about dead people. And then they were like, oh, haunted. But, of course, I have a spiritual practice, and I'm not scared when I do dream of dead people. But before this workshop today, I was thinking, oh my goodness, am I going to be going over soon? Because it was sort of like, well, I dreamt about people who passed on before, but not like this stretch. So now I'm thinking, well, maybe I've just gone to another level spiritually, and this is how I'm serving. Even though it doesn't seem like everything, when I see these people, it's not like a remarkable thing. It's just like, just like we're here in the physical. So I feel better now. I mean, I don't really want to go. I'm not really prepared to go that. So I was really questioning that recently.
Yeah, I loved your observation about is it a shift in your state of consciousness? Is it an expansion? Is it you becoming more comfortable recognizing that, they exist in all of these dimensions and so do you. And when you're comfortable enough to realize that, yes, I already exist in all of these places, then, we become more able to be aware consciously because we interact with them in every second. We're interacting with people who are here in the physical, people who no longer inhabit physical bodies. People are not even in the physical dimension, right? Because as soul, we are multidimensional. We are limitless.
Mhm.
So we are interacting in every moment. It's just what is our ability to be aware and conscious of it, right? So again, another reason for doing this workshop was to empower people to understand that you are consciously interacting and can serve in multiple dimensions and multiple planes and planets and universes because we're already there and we're all connected. They are all inside of us and we are inside of those places, right? So it takes a real shift of paradigms. another reason I wanted to do this. And there are a lot of people who are Facebook friends of mine who watch these um, podcasts that are not quite comfortable with all of what we're talking about tonight, but by being exposed to it, it lights some lights, right? It causes some people to think, well, what if? And I have some very, very conservative and religious family members who are having experiences just like you are, Carol. And they like whispered, hey, had this experience. Don't tell anybody else, but don't want the family to think I'm crazy. But we're all, including our animals, we're all consciously existing. The animals all of life is existing on multiple dimensions consciously. And what a gift if we can make the effort to be more conscious and to bring more love, more wisdom, and more freedom into those dimensions that we inhabit. That will have an effect on this planet and on this world. If we are recognizing that not only are we limitless, multidimensional beings, but we're all connected, and there is a greater benefit of serving each other rather than taking from each other, right? Of giving freedom instead of controlling with power, right? Using love instead of fear, right? By striving to be living examples of these things, it seeps into the consciousness of others. And so thank you, Carol. Thanks for being brave to share that. And, you know, just remember the great saying, wherever you go, there you are. So,
Thank you.
yeah, wherever you go, there you are. So, uh, very cool stuff. Anyone else? Carol.
I just wanted to add in with a lot of things. After my parents translated or died, I had a chance to see my mother, and it was very different. She was happy and young, and she was in this beautiful place, and it was gorgeous. And I was happy for her because this lifetime in her beginning stage was not that. And then another time I saw her, she was with my then now dead aunt, her sister, and mother's head was down in her soup. And I said, Mother, what are you doing? And she says, Oh, I just thought I'd take a rest. I said, Well, there's better ways to do it. So I was able to show her, how to rest. But it was so funny. And I realized that it would happen so I would remember it. Not so much that her head was actually in the soup, but so that I would remember it. Sometimes these experiences in the dreams or something really odd happens, it helps you remember what you were dreaming about, or maybe what that experience was, and you get reminded of it and go, oh, that's what that was about. It may come a month, it may come a day, these hints that we get, we're so given this guidance. And I went back to, if we can accept this, then we're given more and more and more. And so I just kind of wanted to share that. I thought that was the funniest thing. Like, what is your head doing in the soup? But it really wasn't.
That's great. That's such a beautiful story. Thank you. It inspires me as well. And Virginia, you wanted to share something.
I want to ask a question. So to become more of who we are, or who I am, what's holding me back? Mostly fear?
So
Trauma with the child?
what's when you ask yourself that question, you will get an answer. Also, if you have if you take the time to work with these exercises that we've given tonight with your guides and your teachers and your mentors, and you have wonderful ones, you will get these answers. And there is no one recipe or one answer for everyone, right? But we do know that the more we work to have more love come into ourselves, and the more we work to have more love go through us to others, it opens the door to all of those answers, right? And love is greater and stronger than fear. And having the trust in those who are there to guide and assist us. And again, you have wonderful guides and assistants. And no matter what path, faith, church, there are beings that are available. And believe it or not, you might be serving as one of those beings and not even know it in your dream world. That was the biggest shock to me. I thought, who, I could never be that. I would never be able to do that. I'm not smart enough. I'm not spiritual enough. I'm not. And it's true, I'm not enough, but it doesn't matter. The spirit, you're enough for what it needs in that moment. And if you're willing to train and you're willing to be used, it will use you. And it will take you to all of these amazing places because you already are there. You already live there. You already exist there. It's a matter of, there's a lot of letting go that we can do that will, it's like, have you ever seen someone in a hot air balloon? What they do, they get the fire going and the hot air is moving up into the big part of the balloon. But in order for the balloon to rise, they've got to untie the sandbags that are tied all around the balloon that are weighing it down. So little by little, with the help of these inner beings, we can pull a sandbag off, throw another sandbag off, another one. Sandbags are fear. Sandbags are attachments. Sandbags are, grudges we have. Sandbags are lack of confidence because of what happened or someone said or did. Sandbags are attitudes. Sandbags are beliefs. There are all kinds of sandbags, right? Just we let one go at a time and you'll start to see your balloon rise higher and higher and higher just by letting go, by forgiving yourself and forgiving others. That's a sandbag, right? By trusting yourself more, believing in yourself more, loving yourself more. These are all sandbags. So enjoy the journey, Virginia. It's an
Thank
amazing.
you so much. That's great. Thank you to everybody, actually. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Yeah. So I wanted to close with this because I can't believe how fast the time has gone tonight, and I'm so grateful for your patience and sticking around for 2 hours. But I just wanted to honor you. I wanted to honor what you created and contributed here tonight. Because every time you make an effort to use your interests, your talents, your passions, to be of service in any way, shape, or form to life, your light is lit up a little brighter. And because we are all connected, just like in this graphic, you help others light their lights a little brighter as well. This is so important to remember, and I'm so grateful that you're here tonight. And for those who'll be joining at another time and bring their light to this workshop. When you light your light a little brighter, you help others light their light a little brighter. And there's that old saying, don't dim your light out of fear that it will cause someone else's light to seem insignificant. Life is so short. Don't dim your light. Shine it as bright as you can every day, right? Jesus said, don't hide your light under a basket, right? Shine as bright as you can every day, and every day you can shine even brighter if you want to, and if you're willing to do what it takes, because the divine will use you in every and any moment you are willing to be used. And even when you don't even know you're being used, it will use you for the greater good. I just love wanting to be consciously inviting it and asking it to be of service. I also want to thank you and honor all of you, and to honor the wisdom pool of energy, the energy field of love and service that we all together have tapped into and expanded tonight with our own contributions. This makes this wisdom pool wider and richer for others to drink from. And it makes this energy field we've been a part of larger and more powerful for others. Enables them to have their fires of inspiration ignited and burn even brighter, and allow them to shine their lights brighter and inspire others to do the same. So thank you for that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. Know that you are so loved. Know that you are so cared for. Know that you are so appreciated, so valuable. Um, Please know that in every moment, and be willing to share that with others. I'm so grateful that you're here tonight. I love you so much. I care about you so much. I'm so grateful for you. So grateful for your light. And just keep shining, keep shining. Keep using your imagination to have even greater experiences and be of greater value to all of life. The rewards are indescribable and immeasurable. So take care, everyone. Have a good rest of your night, a good week, a good life, a good eternity. Keep shining.
Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was wonderful, Mike. I'm glad you finally got to do this for us.
Me too. I'm glad we found a creative way of doing it. Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Randy. Thanks, Lamar, for being here. Luba, Amanda, Carol, Nancy. Wow, everybody. Thank you so much for being here and being you. And maybe we'll see you in a future episode.
Thank
I,
you. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone.
Hey, take care, everyone. Love you.
Love you
See
too,
you.
Mike. Would you mind sharing that very first screenshot you did of all the things you were going to do? If it's not appropriate, that's okay.
Oh, sure. Let me find it.
I think anytime we can put our attention on opening ourselves up more and greater with others who are in like mind, it just enhances things immeasurably. It's so I'm always grateful when we have a chance to get together like this.
Me too. Me too. Okay, let me press the buttons, all the buttons. Oops. Ah, this one?
Yes, the goals of the workshop.
Cool.
I think you managed to do it all.
Did we check off all the boxes? Yay. All right. And once again, this is going to be on my Facebook page, this recording, and then I will edit it and I will put it on my YouTube channel, and it's I'll post it in my Facebook, and I'll send an email. And again, this was a gift of love tonight. It was not to sell anything. It was not to convince anyone of anything. It didn't was not connected to any organization or anything else. This was just my gift of love, and I'm so grateful that you all came and shared it. And I know that you will continue to share your love, and that's what makes doing these things so worthwhile. So, with that, I'll say goodnight, and maybe I'll see you at another podcast.